following podcast is brought to you exclusively by the Rad Rob Radio Network. Imagine a place where mental health, resilience, sports, and the power to never give up all come together. This show is about life. It's about mental health. It's about bouncing back stronger than ever. This is Reset and Rise to the Unbreakable with Amanda Moore.
Hey guys, welcome back to Reset and Rise to the Unbreakable with Amanda Moore. I am your host, Rad Rob Francois, along with the one and only Miss Amanda Moore. Good evening, Amanda.
Hi, Rob. How are you?
I'm doing well. We're at episode 23. Isn't that crazy?
Know. It is crazy.
We're just trucking along. Yeah.
And tomorrow is the 24th. So Merry Christmas to everybody.
Merry Christmas to you as well.
Early. Man. So, yeah. Do you have any plans for Christmas or?
Going over our in-laws, as we do every year, which is good. They're only about 9 minutes away, so we don't have to go that far.
Yeah.
And we're going to do steaks on the grill, I believe, for Christmas dinner. So
nice.
We try not to do anything typical. Most in years past, we've done standing rib roast beef, or prime rib, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But that's getting way too expensive. So apparently we're just doing steaks now. So
everything's getting expensive, but yeah,
for sure.
We have a 3.5-hour drive ahead of us tomorrow after working to Salt Lake City. So
fun.
We're going to see family. So that'll be nice. A little bit of a reprieve away from the madness, because I was out in traffic today, which was a mistake driving. And
people are nuts, dude.
I know 45 minutes for what should have been a 15-minute drive is insane.
There's been so many accidents around here because people are just like super impatient, super in a hurry.
Yeah.
And it's just that time of year, man. Like, look, no Christmas party or Christmas gift is worth being dead. So
yeah,
people just need to kind of chill out and slow down and realize that like there's more to life than giving presents to somebody, especially when Christmas isn't even about presents. It's about the birth of our Lord. So
I posted about that yesterday, actually.
People lose sight of that. So.
They do lose sight of that. It's supposed to be about family and appreciating the life in front of us. So
that's right.
Yes. So Merry Christmas to everybody early. Tonight we have Danny Saenz. We were corrected on the last name pronunciation.
My bad.
Thanks, Craig. Back to you. It's okay. Same to you, Craig. It's okay, Rob. It happens. We all do it. But he has lived a life shaped by service, sacrifice, and responsibility. He hails from Puerto Rico, now lives in Texas. He served over a decade on active duty in the United States Army, including 2 combat deployments to Afghanistan and Iraq. He's led in environments where decisions aren't theoretical, they're immediate, consequential, and life-altering. Today, he continues that mission as a workforce strategic planner with the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency under the Department of Homeland Security, helping shape the future of national security. So we want to delve right in and get Danny on here. We can start hitting him up with some questions. So I'm quite interested to talk to him.
Let's bring him in. Let's welcome Mr. Danny Saenz to the show. Danny, what's going on, brother? Welcome.
Hey, welcome. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, no problem. So we've been Facebook friends for a while. And you have quite the story. Not only are you a serious businessman, but also serious about your country, but you're also hilarious.
Oh, I appreciate that.
You share some funny stuff. And so tell us a little bit about you came from Puerto Rico, you now live in Texas, but I know that you're married, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Children?
I have 3 kids, 2 from a previous marriage, Austin, 24, Logan, 22, and then our little daughter, Mackenzie, who is 6.
Okay.
That's a big age.
That's a big age gap there.
It is, but I tell you, it's I do it all over again.
Yeah.
So how old are you now?
I am now 51.
I'm 49. I had mine. Yeah, my girl's 7, my only child. So I waited a while to have her. But it's different being older, right? And having to raise someone, a young kid.
Yeah.
Honestly, when I was younger at 26, I wasn't ready for, financially and all that stuff. But that's when I had my boys, 27. But I can tell you that I'm better now financially, mentally, and all that stuff to raise a child than I was, 25 to 27.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I don't butcher it. Where are you from in Puerto Rico?
So Rio Piedras, Puerto Rico. It's right outside of San Juan, Puerto Rico.
Okay. So with that being said, growing up there, what early influences shaped your sense of discipline, service, or leadership?
So I can tell you, when we were 5, we moved to Florida. But when I was 2 months old, my mom saw my dad get killed right in front of her in Puerto Rico. So that was a turning point where she said, "We're out of here." And then we moved to Florida to find a better life. And I can tell you that I'm thankful that my mom raised 3 of us by herself. And I believe, she worked 2-3 jobs to raise us. And I saw her determination and how well she raised us, that I knew that whatever I did, it was going to be a lot easier than what my mom did.
Yeah, that's absolutely devastating to witness something like that too at such a young age. That's probably profoundly impacted your life in many ways.
It has.
Yeah.
So you have obviously no memories of your dad since you said 2 months old when it happened.
Yeah, I was exactly 2 months to the day.
Man, that's rough.
My middle brother was 3 years old, and then my oldest brother was 5. So he says he remembers, but at 5 years old, what do you really remember?
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, me too. That's devastating. Was there a defining moment that made you choose a path in criminology and ultimately military service?
Yeah. So when I was in middle school, I always wanted to go in the military. So as soon as I got into high school, I started doing JROTC, and I competed in their ROTC program. I ran cross country in high school. And from that point, I just said, I'm going in the military. So I enlisted for 4.5 years in the National Guard in Florida. And then I went to college. And as soon as I graduated college at Florida Southern, I was always intrigued with law enforcement and just law. So I went into the military police. I commissioned first as a chemical officer. And then after about 3 years of being a chemical officer, then I became a military police officer and on active duty. And I loved every minute of it. If I had to do it all over again, I'd do it just the way I did.
Can I ask what a chemical officer does?
So it's a CBRNE. So it's a chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, explosives officer. So basically, anything to do with chemical warfare, explosives, that type of stuff, you learn what the effects are on the body. So we went to, Fort McClellan, Alabama, and we learned, the toxic chambers with all of your equipment. So when you went into the chamber, the alarms went off. So you started trusting that the alarms went off, that the equipment worked for you. So it was pretty incredible to listen nerve agent and learn about it, and then go in the chamber where they actually have live nerve agent.
Wow.
And then you're like, I hope this thing works, right? Because if not, I'm gonna have an extra arm growing out of my head or something like that.
That's badass, dude.
Yeah, that is.
It was fun. It was a good time. And my first duty assignment as a brand new 21-year-old first lieutenant was Vicenza, Italy. So you can't complain about that.
Yeah, no kidding. And you served over 11 years on active duty, correct?
I did. I moved all over the place. Started out in Florida, went to McClellan, Alabama. First duty assignment was in Vicenza, Italy. Came back to Fort Hood, Texas. Everybody knows about Fort Hood. Yep. And then from Fort Hood, I went to Tampa, and then Tampa to Chicago, right outside of Chicago. Then New York, Iraq, back, and then I kind of land on North Carolina, and I've kind of been all over the place.
Everywhere. Yeah. How do those roles shape your leadership style?
I tell you, when you become an officer, like, you're automatically thrusted into a platoon leader, right? So as a platoon, I had 30 people that I was in charge of. And then, you're immediately have anywhere from 18-year-olds to a platoon sergeant who could be 35, 40 years old. And here you are, 21 years old, and you're like guy in charge, right? But you learn to trust the non-commissioned officers, the sergeants and stuff, to guide you appropriately. And that's what they did. They made sure that I didn't do anything stupid that would kick me out or get me killed. So they always made sure that, hey, Danny, let's focus here. And I respected how they kind of educated me and shuffled me in the right direction.
Yeah. And as a company commander in Iraq and a detainee operations officer in Afghanistan, What leadership lessons were forged under pressure for you?
So I would say in 2004, when I went to Afghanistan, I went there as an individual person with the Combined Joint Special Operations Task Force in Bagram, Afghanistan. And one of the things I did there was kind of come up with a way to transfer detainee operations, the folks that we captured on the battlefield, and get them to an internment facility to make sure that, they were treated with dignity and respect like we're supposed to. So just seeing how our guys on the battlefield will deal with these folks. And then when they get in our custody, how, we have to treat them like we should be treating folks, right? And then those guys would throw stuff at you. And regardless how they threw, crap or anything like that at you, that you would treat them with respect, right? Because that's how we needed to do. So just learning how you go into a third world country, some of the things you see there, you come back home and then, you try to forget that stuff, but you can never forget it, right? So dealing with that is always challenging on itself. And then I would say going into Iraq and being a company commander of 180 people, taking 180 people there and bringing 180 people back was a chore on itself. But I tell you, being the guy in charge, you make decisions that you hope are the correct decisions. And then after the fact, when you bring in 180 people back, then you can tell yourself, you know what, I did all the decisions and they were right because I brought everybody back.
Yeah.
So that's that learning curve. You don't get it anywhere else, right? You're thrusted into that and
on the job training. Yeah.
Yeah.
You figure it out.
For sure. How do you make high stake decisions when the cost of being wrong is so high when you're put in that position that you were?
I would say that the training, right? I mean, we train every day to go into battlefield. That's what we train for. And the muscle memory that you get from training, when it comes time to make that decision, you've experienced so many iterations of those scenarios that you just say, hey, you get back, you sit down, you with the non-commissioned officers and the other lieutenants in the company, and you say, okay, guys, am I missing something? Because here's all the facts and here are the assumptions that you're going to make. And when we all collaborate and we're like, nope, hey, we're on target. The decision's made and we move forward.
Yeah. Well, we were talking before we went on air. I watched the most amazing movie last night called The Covenant on Netflix with Jake Gyllenhaal. And everything that you're talking about is kind of showcased in that movie as far as, like on-site decision making, and you're a leader of a pack of guys or, servicemen or women, and you have to take care of the people that are around you. So what is something civilians such as myself often misunderstand about leadership in combat environments?
Well, I think a lot of people just think of, the nearest war movie that you see on TV with, your actors, that half the stuff that you see on there are close, not even close from being reality. So I would tell you that, when you have folks that have to make these split-second decisions sometimes, that, it's easier to Monday morning quarterback and second guess everything. But when you're, you got like a couple minutes to make a decision, and that decision's made, that, there's a lot of stress on the leadership and also on those 18, 19, 20-year-old soldiers that, this is first time away from home. So the fact that, you're trusting your right and left folks, and they could be 18 years old, they could be 35, 40 years old, and you're hoping that they do what they were taught to do and trained to do, and you depend on each other. And that's, the family that you get in the military is, like no other.
Yeah, unmatched. Have any of your kids ever talked about being interested in serving?
Yeah, so my kids growing up, they were always like, Dad, I want to be in the military. I want to be in the military. And you know what? As I got older and they got older and they saw me going away for deployments and just moving all the time, they were like, Dad, I don't know if I want to go in the military anymore. You move too much. We travel too much. Like there's just, I want to be able to be steady. So I can tell you that my 6-year-old, she's moved twice, and she's not moving again because we're staying put here in San Antonio, Texas. So she's going to experience something that my 2 older kids did not experience. And that's a steady home front where they can grow up in the same elementary school, middle school, and high school. So we're looking forward to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we all know that combat deployments can fundamentally change a person. How did those experiences challenge you mentally and emotionally?
I can tell you that there's still days that I kind of struggle, right? So I think the biggest thing is to seek help. I was never too proud to go and go seek help. I mean, I've seen, I don't know how many mental health providers throughout my career post military that have helped me kind of refocus and kind of just think through things that happen in combat, that you can come back and be like, all right, it's not your fault that happened. Because oftentimes you sit back and you're like, it's my fault that happened. But in the mind, that's what you think. It's my fault. It's my fault. So having to go to mental health and having to get help and counselors to walk you through that, so you're not sitting there thinking that it's your fault, that's what happened. And to this day, I still seek help to kind of walk me through when I have those times that I struggle through and I'm in the trenches and I'm like, come on, Danny, get out of that rut.
Yeah. And what I found is not just females, but there's a lot of males too that see that shame. They see shame in asking for help, or they see it as a sign of weakness. When unfortunately it's really not. That's actually a sign of strength when you want to reach out and get some help, and you're able to actually sit with it and realize that you need some help and be able to go. That takes a lot of strength. So I commend you for that, because there's so many people out there that they're too ashamed. They don't want to ask for help. And then by the time they do, it's too late, and we've either lost them or they're just in a place where they can't bounce back from. So
I agree. I mean, it's never, and I tell people all the time, like, don't be ashamed to do that, because it's better to rough through it and still be here than to think that, there's a better way out, and you go that route, and, you leave behind family, you leave behind friends that you don't want to. So, to me, I got 3 kids, right? And a wife. I'm sorry, but it's not about me, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm interested, what tools or habits helped you stay grounded during and after your deployments?
So my kids, hanging out with my kids, definitely. My wife, she's active duty. She's been active duty for 26 years. And her understanding what I've gone through, because, she's military still. So I think having that partner that understands and can relate and can see when you're starting to kind of fade, and kind of be like, all right, come on, we don't have time for that. Let's get where we need to be and let's move forward. So I think having that partner is key to making sure that I thrive and I'm here for the family.
Yeah. Was there ever a moment that you questioned yourself or your path? And if so, how did you push through it?
Yeah, I mean, there's been several times, right? So I've been divorced before, and there's been times where I've kind of gone in dark alleys that I shouldn't have been. And I think that, when you're in those dark places, that you got a friend or somebody that you can talk to get you out of there. You don't want to hang out there too long, because if you hang out there too long, bad things can happen. So I'm thankful that I have, family that can kind of see when my demeanor changes or something happens, that they can be like, hey, shake out, man. It's time for you to get out of that.
Yeah. Yeah. What was probably one of the most profound experiences when you were deployed that you witnessed that made you think about life differently?
Well, so my kids were, I think, 2 and 4 when I deployed to Iraq. One of the things that shook me there was I was a company commander for a military police company, and we had all the Iraqi police stations out in the Fallujah area, and there's 33 of them total. And oftentimes we would see the Iraqi police, and they would molest little kids. And having kids that age, like, you get put in perspective, saying, if that was my kid, all hell would break loose, right? So just kind of seeing those and seeing what things happen and these kids, and that's what they do, right? Like, unfortunately, that's how they live life, and they think it's okay. But kind of that stuff there was eye-opening, again, because I had kids that age. So then you kind of go back and be like, if that ever happened to my kids, I'm going to be in trouble, right?
Yep.
So that was one. And then having one of my close friends from another company got blown up by an IED. burned 40% of his body. Really good friend of mine. And seeing that, was also another eye-opening experience. Luckily, he actually lives about 12 minutes from me. But he gone through, I don't know how many surgeries now, probably more than 50 surgeries. But, seeing him and seeing how he is today versus when right after the explosion happened, all that gets put in perspective, right? Count your blessings. And, I'm thankful that I'm here, and, I have a family that's supportive, and we're living.
Yeah. And we say all the time on the show, like, your support system is probably the most profound thing that will keep you going in life, because there's people out there that think they can do it alone, and they'd be better off handling things by themselves, especially when times get tough and moving forward. And it's really not the best way for somebody to handle something. Nobody should ever have to fight anything alone. So
no, I agree.
Yeah.
And when you got family and friends, like, they know that have been around a while. They know when you're not acting right. They know when you start going back into your clamshell, or you're going, hey, you're distant. So when you have those good friends, they can come up to you and be like, give you the hole on the back of the head and tell you to snap out of it, or the Leroy Jethro, and kind of hit you on the forehead type thing, and just kind of get you out of there, right?
Yeah. It's always good to have people like that. So transitioning from what we're talking about now, you went active duty to strategic planning at Department of Homeland Security. That's a major shift. So what was that adjustment like for you?
So, as soon as I got out of the military, I kind of worked as a civilian for the Army for a while. And, working in the Army as a civilian kind of still kept me in that environment, right? I was around soldiers and kind of doing the same mission set, but now as a civilian. So it was an adjustment, a huge adjustment, because I was used to that camaraderie of, being in the military to now being in the military, but as a civilian, but it's not really the same. And I kind of jumped around different jobs throughout my civilian career. And then when I landed in the Department of Homeland Security and the CISA, or the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, I'm a workforce planner, or strategic workforce planner. So what we do is, if you have an organization let's just say somebody says, hey, we need 200 people in our organization, we sit there and we do all the data crunching and sit down with the folks and say, okay, what do you do every day? How often do you do that? And the frequency, and we kind of sit down and we figure out that, hey, you don't need 180 people. You actually need 170 people. And then we go through how we built that model and figure out how and why they're supposed to be that size. And once we get through that process, organizations will understand that and not be like, well, I think I need 200. I was like, well, no, the data and everything suggests that you should only have 175, right? So that's what I do in the organization that I work for now. So I get to use my mind. So it's always good when you get a chance to use your mind. Because I've been in jobs where you kind of just sit there and you're just like, why am I here?
Yeah.
I'm not using my mind. I'm kind of melting away. So it's always great to be able to exercise that. So that learning curve was kind of not as sharp of a learning curve for me, because I got the chance to kind of do that in the military. So the transition, though it was a little hard, I've been a federal civilian now since September of 2011. So it's been almost 15 years.
Wow. That's crazy. So in your current role at CISA, as you called it, what does preparing for the future, quote unquote, really mean in a rapidly evolving threat landscape?
So I can tell you, being for me in the piece of the pie that I have is as CISA as a whole tries to make sure that, they're fighting all the security and stuff that come in here, that I make sure as my piece to make sure that every department has the right people and the right skill set to make sure that, they have the people to fight, the cyber threat that's out there. So as I look at our organizations within CISA, I make sure that they have the right skill set and that they have the right amount of people to make sure that they can fight that cyber threat that's coming.
Yeah, there's some scary stuff going on in the web. I remember when I worked in law enforcement and I trained officers on the NCIC program. So that's the program that when a cop pulls you over, they put all your information in, they can find out tons of stuff about you. And I worked closely with them and also the U.S. Marshals. And I found out about the dark web. And that was when I found out how scary cybersecurity is. And all the things that happen that people don't realize that's actually going on out there.
Yeah, there's a huge threat out there. I mean, they can tap into your computers, and next thing you know, they're draining your bank accounts because you just really got to watch it. When in doubt, like if you think it's questionable, like I think it's my aunt and she wants the money, like pick up the phone, call your aunt, and see if that's really her.
Yeah.
But most people will believe whatever is being told to them on an email or a text, and next thing you know, they're wiring money to some stranger, and then they get kind of screwed, right?
Yeah, especially they pry on the elderly.
They do.
For sure.
I watch a lot of that on YouTube. I watch Scam Baiters, and there's a guy named Scammer Payback, and he has really developed a great team of trying to go after these guys. Usually in India, a lot of them are in Jamaica now. Nigeria is getting in on it, and they do the whole. Oh, this is Jimmy from the Social Security Administration. We have an issue with that, or somebody hacked in your Amazon account and bought a TV or whatever. And a lot of the elderly won't go actually to their bank or Amazon or check their emails to see if they even order anything. They just believe what people are telling them, and that's just it's very, very sad to watch. I mean, these people absolutely prey on the elderly, and it's just disgusting to watch. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, they're making millions overseas on people here.
I agree. It's sad, and it's only going to get worse, right? Because more people depend on internet, and more people depend on computers, and
then with AI, you never know what you're going to get out of that. So
and that's a different ball of wax now with AI. So that's going to be super ugly. But that's the future, right? So God help.
So how do you guys stay ahead of that curve?
What's that?
How do you guys stay ahead of that curve?
We got guys who are doing backwards cyber threat and hunting, and that do a lot of that stuff and go out there and penetrate our own systems to kind of see if they're penetratable or anything like that. So we got a lot of guys that are defensive and offensive guys that kind of see what our vulnerabilities are, and then we try to fix that stuff.
Yeah. I want to switch back 1 second to talking about veterans in particular. So many veterans that we've had a few on the show now, and some of them struggle with identity after service. So how did you redefine your purpose beyond the uniform when you're home as a civilian?
So the hardest part for me was finding a job, right? So I was lucky that as I was getting out of the uniform, there happened to be a Fed job in the same section where I was wearing a uniform, and I went through the process. I applied, I interviewed, and luckily I got the job. But there are some folks that'll go through 5, 6, 7 jobs before they land the job that, is actually something, not just a pass through. And a lot of veterans struggle with trying to relate what they did in the military and kind of pinpoint that skill set into the civilian sector. So I think a lot of folks will say that they struggle trying to find that job, and not just like a McDonald's or anything like that, but a job that's going to kind of feed the family and pay the bills, and something that's meaningful. So I just think that, I think that's important to kind of have that resume building, and the VA does a really good job of kind of having those courses and those classes that help kind of build that resume and transfer some of those skill sets in the military to civilian lingo instead of the military jargon. So I think using those tools that are offered to us is helpful, but some people may not know of those tools. So I think educating folks, and I try to do that and help folks as they're getting out of uniform to kind of walk them through that process again, because it's not like they tell you all about it as you're getting out of the military.
Yeah. Do you watch football?
I do, and I saw that.
Comment.
The Navy. Every now and then, the Navy's got to kind of get their little piece. But it's all good.
Their little piece of the pie.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't. It must have
10
been
minutes of fame.
It must have been the Marine Corps, because they're usually the men's department of the Navy. That's probably what's out in the field.
Oh, that's funny. I love it. So, well, looking back, what version of yourself are you most proud of, and why?
I would say the version now. honestly, because I have a great support system now. And I love the military. I love the life. If I had to do it all over again, I would. But I think now, being a little older, a little bit more stable, kind of making a little bit more money than I was when, 27 years old. I think the version now is a little bit more patient with my children. So I think the version now is what I think is best. And I'm also like 8 years from retirement, so like, of course, it's better. So that's one thing that I'm kind of proud of.
Yeah. I've noticed since like the veterans that we've had on the show, we have another one next week. And then we have another guy that has his own podcast that is also a veteran of the Marines. So what I've noticed is a lot of times when they get home, what I've noticed with a lot of our veterans, or maybe I just have a good pick of the bunch of finding the right ones, they come home and they still have this sense of like a pay it forward. So they're always doing something with organizations or ways to help other people or ways to help their fellow veterans that have come back. I seem to think it's a catalyst coming from serving. So you're serving your country and you're helping people that are serving with you. And so you come back and you still feel that pride of serving the people and trying to find purpose and helping people thrive and move forward in their life. Do you see that to be the same way?
Oh yeah, 100%. Plenty of folks that are getting out of uniform that just don't really know like that process of filing a VA claim, right?
Yeah.
Getting their disability. That process is just terrible. So I think having to walk some of the folks as they're getting out of, the uniform, I've helped, I don't know how many people to kind of get through that process, because it could be challenging and it could be like, man, the heck with this. I don't want to do this crap. But having a minute to sit down and be like, hey, let's go through your stuff and kind of let's talk how you need to craft your VA claim. I've done a lot of that. I've actually helped a lot of folks get in federal service coming out of uniform and kind of talking like what you should be writing in your resume, like the things that you should be looking for, and helping folks out. I enjoy helping people.
Yeah, that's what I've found for most veterans. They love helping other people, whether it be to smile, laugh, or make something more of themselves, or just help them and stay in a positive mindset. But what leadership lesson do you believe applies to everyone, not just those in uniform?
I think it's, treat others like you want to be treated. Of course, I think it's, a lot of people say that, but I think you have to do that, right? Like, how do you want to be treated? And treat other folks like that. Yeah. And I think too, it's like, not being afraid to roll up your sleeves and do what the folks you're leading are doing. So you understand exactly what they're doing. And if you don't understand what people that work for you are doing, you're not a very good leader. I think you have to go in there and roll your sleeves up, kind of do the nug work and kind of just do the work. So you really understand how long it takes them to do it and what that process is. So when you ask somebody to do something, you can be like, oh crap, that's going to take you a while because I was down there doing it with you. And I think you have to be that leader that can, again, be down there, understand what it is you're asking your people to do, and then, relate to them. And I think get the feedback from them. So again, when your decision's made, you've accepted their feedback, you understood it. So hopefully when you make that decision, that if some of their feedback is incorporated and then they feel like they were heard. And I think people lose that. And I think that's super important.
Yeah. So you've definitely, from being in the service, you've definitely faced adversity of your own, but you've also continued to be mission focused. So for listeners facing adversity, and what advice would you give them about resilience and staying mission focused in the moment?
I think it's having a point down in life where you want to be, and then realizing, hey, how do I get there? And writing down, here's where I am, here's where I kind of want to be, and here's some of the steps that I need to do to get to that point, and make them little steps, right? Because oftentimes we're like, oh, I want to be a millionaire, but I want that to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
We all know that, you have to kind of do certain things in life. And if you make them smaller steps to get to your endpoint, it's easier as you make those easy wins and you get there. And so, when you make those steps too long or too far, I think you lose focus. So I just think you got to get those little wins. So again, you get your mindset, hey, I'm seeing progress. And I'm getting to where I need to be. And that's what I would tell people is make those little steps so you can see the progress. And then eventually you'll get to that point where like, well, that was a big step, but man, there's so many steps I got there, but I made it to this step. And now I'm working my way to the next step.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that when both in my previous careers and bodybuilding and bowling, I even had a bowling coach tell me that you look at a ladder, a very tall ladder, and at the top of the ladder is your end goal. That's the end result, the big picture of what you want. But you can't get to the top without climbing every single step first. So label out what your steps are. And once you achieve one, move to the next one. Because at the end of the day, we're all thinking big picture. But so many people are so focused on the fear and anxiety ridden of the future that they're forgetting to live in the present and take care of what's going on in the now that they can control and what they can work on. So that's some very good advice. But how can people lead, in your opinion, with integrity when they feel overwhelmed or unsupported?
So, I mean, I think living with integrity is key, right? So like if I tell you that, hey, trust me, this is where we're going to do something, and I don't tell you the truth, and then it happens, and the integrity that goes down, right? Like you're going to be like, oh, this guy. So I think do what you say you're going to do and say what you're going to do. So, you do that and people will see that, hey, when Amanda says something, like she's going to do it. And not like, well, I don't know, man. Rob said this and it still hasn't happened and it's been 5 years, right? Like it's just one of those things that you gotta say, if I'm gonna tell you something, like I'm gonna do it, and we're gonna make that happen. And having that integrity, if you don't have that, or you just kind of just talk out of your ear and just say whatever you want to say, but you don't mean it, like, man, people are never gonna believe a word that comes out of your mouth.
Yeah, and they're not going to see you as a leader. I always say the way to lead is to lead with example. So that's the best form of it, and do it with integrity as well. Because yeah, like you said, people can talk. I mean, it's the old saying, you do this in one hand and one in the other and see which one fills up first.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So same thing. But yeah, so if you could go back and speak to your younger self before your first deployment, what would you tell him?
Oh man.
Hard-hitting questions.
I think what I would tell my younger self is, hey, Danny, like enjoy the moment. You're going to make it through this, but don't look at because I often was like, hey, I know I got to be perfect at everything. I got to be perfect at everything. I was always taught it's better to have an 80% solution delivered on time than 100% solution delivered late.
Yeah.
So I always kind of kept that mindset that like, hey, this right here is going to be good enough for what we have to do. And let's not like waste or focus on trying to perfect it, because nothing's ever going to be perfect. And you got to realize that this is going to be good enough to get us where we need to go. And then beyond that, it's like, okay, we can make it better the next time around. I think having that mindset, giving my younger self that bit of advice would probably have let me be a little bit more successful, because I was always I want to make this a little bit better. I want to make this a little bit better. And sometimes you can't have, you don't have that much time to make a decision, or being indecisive. You just got to make that decision.
Yeah. Did you have anybody that you served with that was kind of your inspiration or motivation to keep going when times got tougher, that gave you some really good advice?
Oh yeah. I think almost every duty station that I went to, there was always that one person that had been there at least a couple years. So they knew the ins and outs of the organization or the area. So having to kind of humble yourself and be like, hey, I need you to like teach me what you know, right? Some people get there and they're just like, I know what I'm talking about. Don't tell me anything, right? But I think humbling yourself and being like, hey, can you give me information? Help me help you, right? You've heard that saying before. I think that's super important. And I think that's what kind of has helped me in my career, is to be able to sit down and be humble and say, like, hey, just tell me what's on your mind, like good, bad, or indifferent. Give me it all. So I can make an informed decision, and not just with someone telling me all the good stuff. And you make a decision, but you don't know all the bad stuff. And you're like, damn it, I wouldn't have made that decision if I would have known everything else, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There's so much going on in the world right now, as far as, like you said, cybersecurity goes, or we have illegal immigration issues. We also have the fact that we're funding other countries instead of looking at what we can do to take ourselves out of a deficit as a country. What do you think is something that's going on right now in our world that is probably something that needs to generate more attention?
I mean, I just think taking care of our people here is more important, right? Like, how many homeless people do we have? I think if we take a step back and be like, hey, if we can take care of our people here, how much better are we going to be to move forward and get things done? In San Antonio, I can go downtown and I can see hundreds of homeless people.
Yeah.
If we could help our folks that are in our cities that need help versus trying to send $1 gazillion somewhere else, that money could be used for our folks here. And I just think we need to do a better job of kind of taking care of our glass house first before we're casting stones at other people's homes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. What made you decide on living in Texas, by the way?
So, my wife got a job here in Texas, and we were living in Tampa, Florida, which again was a nice place because both of my boys were going to college there. So that was a great assignment to kind of spend time with my boys there while they were in college. But we came here because no state tax. I can carry a weapon whenever I want.
Yep.
We just like it here, right? And where my wife works, great place. And the schools up here are all 8, 9, and 10 out of 10 schools for our daughter. So that's one of the main reasons why we picked here, and we're not going anywhere else after that.
Do you feel that Texas may be lost in the next 10, 20 years with everyone that's moving there, especially from California or?
I hope not.
Muslim population.
Yeah, I really hope not. I hope Texas remains Texas, right? If you want to make it something else, then go to that state that they're okay with all that stuff. But I hope Texas stays Texas. There's a saying here: don't New York my Texas, or don't California my Texas.
Exactly.
We have that saying in Idaho.
Yeah. So like for me, it's like, hey, leave it the way it is. And if you don't like it here, then go to a state that's going to support whatever your views are. But don't come here with that stuff.
Because we have a lot of Californians moving here in Tennessee, and I'm from Connecticut originally. My wife is from here. But we're getting a ton of people.
We thought they were all coming to Idaho. Seriously.
Because
Idaho has changed so much.
Texas, yeah,
if you go to Dallas, if you go to Austin, like you see a lot of that. People are leaving Texas for those jobs that are there, especially that Silicon Valley jobs that move to Austin and Texas. Like you'll see a lot of that stuff. But I'm like, you know what? Just don't come where I'm at. Just stay away, man.
Everything's bigger and better in Texas, isn't that what they say? It's probably what's bringing them there. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean,
it's everything: Botox, boobs, lips.
Right.
But it's cheaper here than it was for most of them folks that are coming from whatever state that's taxed like crazy. They come here. It's like, just enjoy how we are here. Don't try to mess it up and create it like something where you just came from, because that's why you left there. So leave this the way it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. What legacy do you hope your work, both military and civilian, leaves behind?
I hope that my legacy lives behind that. Danny's one of those guys that works hard, but plays hard. And my kids see that I work hard, and we have some nice things, but they also know when it's time to play, man, I can play hard and joke with all of them. So I just think that Danny's sincere. Danny's a genuine guy, and Danny's got integrity. So if he tells you he's going to do something, like Danny's going to do something.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm just curious, your wife, how long has she been serving now?
26 years.
Wow.
And how long? You served just over a decade, right?
12 years. Yep.
So did you guys meet through the service?
So I was a civilian in the Army at Redstone Arsenal in Huntsville, Alabama, as a civilian, and she was in uniform there, and that's how we met. The story is super funny. She doesn't like that story, but like I tried to talk to her for like about 3 or 4 months, and she wouldn't give me the time of day. And then all of a sudden, like I was walking down the hallway, and she was walking down the hallway, and there was a bathroom there. She was trying to get to the bathroom, so I stopped, and then I forced her to talk to me. And then that's how I kind of all started. And it's funny because she'll tell you that story too, and it's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I just wanted to ask you. I mean, I have a really soft spot for veterans anyway, so thank you for your service from me and Rob and all the listeners and viewers. We love having veterans on the show. But just really quick, is there anything in particular that you can share with the listeners or people that will listen afterwards to maybe promote somebody that might be in not such a good headspace? I always tell them, I know people, and I've been in this position before, where you're depressed or anxiety ridden, or you're just constantly in distress mode about life and wondering, as we get older, you start wondering, is my time coming near, or what do I have left to live my life for? You kind of lose hope with everything that you've been doing in your life. Is there anything, I always tell people that if anything, watch the veterans on our show, because they fought for our country. They fought through battles. They have wounds, or they have scars, both mentally and physically at times. And then they come on the show and they're living their best life afterwards, or they're at least trying to do the best that they can. So is there anything that you would say to listeners in particular that are maybe in that mindset, that haven't even maybe served, but are going through something, that you could tell them that would help them profoundly have a different outlook on life right now?
Yeah, I would tell them, find something that makes you happy, whatever that is. Riding a motorcycle, horseback riding, bowling, right? Find that thing that will get your mind off of whatever it is it's got you down, and go do it. Find a time to actually go and do that. Put it in the calendar to say, I'm going to go do this once a week or twice a week, whatever that is. Because then, even if it's for that 1 hour that you're doing that, your mind is refreshed, reset.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to kind of give yourself that mental break that you need, and put it on there, put it on the calendar, and force yourself to go do that. Because you have to pull yourself away from life. You have to pull yourself away if you're in that dark hole, and go do that thing that makes you smile, that makes you happy. Even if it's for that 1 or 2 hour thing, go do it. And go find that friend that you can go do that thing with. If it's golfing, if it's whatever, go find that friend that will drop everything and go do it with you, because you can go laugh, you can go get your mind off everything. And then when you come back, you're just like, man, thank God I did that. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we get so succumbed with entertainment, whether it be television or phones, that we forget that there's other things to life that are out there, that we don't need to be in front of an electronic device or electronics in general. And sometimes they're free our headspace and our mind of those things, because let's face it, there's positive and negative to everything electronic nowadays. So sometimes it's best for us to just step away and have like a reset day where
you get desensitized to everything.
You do get desensitized. I've also brought it up, like, let's have a day of no phones, nothing, unless it's a 4-alarm fire and you want to call or text me. I am not available. Like, that's healthy to do once in a while. And I'm guilty of it. I'll go to a bowling tournament, and I don't want to focus so much on the lanes that I will start scrolling in my phone, because I'm trying to distract myself from paying too much attention and putting so much pressure on myself. So there's times where I still use that as a coping mechanism for being under pressure, under stress. But I do know, like, when I fractured my foot and I was out of bowling for 8 months and out of work for 8 months, I had nothing to take myself out of that depressional funk. And now what that did, though, in turn, is now that I'm back at bowling, instead of taking it so serious and trying to win everything, or trying to do my best and then kicking myself when I'm down and out, I've realized I just got out there and tried my best, and I had fun doing it. And the more relaxed I am, the more fun I have, the more I enjoy other people's company, the more fun I have. And I've actually realized that is kind of my coping mechanism to being sad and down and out. That's my thing to get away from, but you say, my boyfriend has skydiving. So there's a profound difference when they'll go in the winter, they close down for a little bit and they'll go a couple weeks, and you can start to see the mindset shift and the patterns of the negativity that's brought on, or the funk feeling, because you're not able to get out and do something. So I always tell people, like, pick more than one thing. Like, right now I have bowling, and now I have this podcast, but pick more than one thing that can help you reevaluate your situation and take you away from what's bringing you down. Because in all honesty, people don't want to believe it, but everybody's going through something. It's just whether people are wanting to share or not. And whether they're wanting to be humble. You can look at the most amazing, influential people, and you have no idea what they're dealing with on the inside. I just saw an actor yesterday. He was in It Chapter 2, which I just saw that movie with my boyfriend like a few months ago for the first time ever. I think it's James I don't want to butcher his name. It starts with the last name is R. But anyways, he committed suicide. And everybody that commented on said they would have never known. He was the nicest, classiest person ever. He was always the life of the party, like always smiling. It just goes to show that you never know what somebody's going through. So it's always good to lend a helping hand or give a smile or, spread a bit of kindness and positivity around. So, and I do see that. That's why I wanted you on the show. You are the same way. Like you're not one of these people that forthright put out there a lot about your past, but enough to know that you served our country, and for that I thank you. But you also have a whole different side to you too. That's attributes to the type of person you are and your personality. So
I appreciate that. Yeah, I think you got to have fun, right? You live life the fullest, right? You try to live life the best that you can, and the things that happened yesterday, I don't got no control over what happened yesterday, right? But I got control over what I'm doing now and what I'm going to do tomorrow. So I think, hey, leave that crap behind. You can't change it. Focus on later on today, tomorrow, because those are the things we can affect, change. I can't change nothing what happened yesterday. I can't. So I think a lot of people dwell on the past, and you just need to let that crap go and focus ahead.
Yeah. And did you happen to have anything happen to you physically when you were serving?
Not physically. We had a couple roadside IEDs. Luckily, our folks nothing happened to them. So as a commander, when you have that kind of stuff happen, you're just like, oh man, like I don't want to be that. I don't want to ever have to make that phone call. So luckily, none of that happened to me. I know in Afghanistan we had some, rockets that came into camp. Luckily, nothing hit where we were staying. But that stuff, I'm thankful that I wasn't involved in a IED or anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, if even that being said, the things that you've witnessed in itself puts a whole different perspective on what life means to you. So, and the fact that you're able to say, if you had to go serve your country again and you would in a heartbeat, tells a lot about who you are as a person.
True.
So
yeah, I would do it all over again. I mean, I just really enjoyed what I did, and what I'm still doing. And, the fact that I can kind of share that story with folks, that either like the military or don't like the military. There's a different side of why the military is good for folks and why it may not be good for folks. The military was always good for me and my family, and obviously my wife being in 26 years. So it's been really good for our family. So we would do it all over again.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for being on the show, Danny, and agreeing to come on here. And it was kind of one of those things where I debated on having somebody on Christmas week because it's Christmas week. And so the state had been open for a while, and I reached out to you, and I'm really glad that I had you on. And I'm kind of glad I've streamlined so many veterans in a row, because everybody's story has been interesting in its own way. And what people are doing now with their lives, and you're definitely making an impact. So I really want to thank you for your service, and thank your wife for us too.
Yes,
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Again, thanks, Amanda. I know I've known you online for a couple of years now, and I've seen your story. When you got hurt and the bowling, how well you've been doing now, and your boyfriend skydiving, and how he's kind of turned you around and kind of helping, with everything going on. So again, thank you for asking me to be part of this. And thanks for your friendship that we've had over the years.
No doubt.
I definitely thank you. And Rob, hey, thanks for kind of setting all this up,
yes,
and all that stuff. I know that's a lot of work.
Yeah, no problem, man. I do it. I love this. I love the show. I love the people we have on. And I love trying to get, because we're all going, like Amanda said, we're all going through something. And if anybody can relate to something you went through, and it helps them get over whatever they're going through, that's literally why we do this show is to help people get through whatever they're getting through. Because I mean, we all battle with it every day, and it's good to have inspirational people on that can relate.
And if anybody ever reaches out that they want to talk, I'm available. Again, I'd rather talk to somebody than to have to go to a funeral, right? Because they just gave up. So like if anybody ever says, hey, let me reach out to Danny, Amanda, you got my information, and I'll be more than happy to talk to anybody. If it's to try to get them through a hump or give them advice on things, I'm here.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Merry Christmas.
Thanks, brother.
Okay?
Merry Christmas, man.
Christmas.
Take care, bud.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Man.
That was great.
Banger after banger, Amanda.
I know.
You really have done a fantastic job at finding the right people to be on.
Well, I appreciate that. I told you this, and I've told many people this. I know that we've set this up to be monetized at some point if it gets to that point. I would really love that.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I need 9 more subscribers to hit 200 by January 1st, by the way. I'm really trying to push that one home. But no, like I told a couple of people last weekend when I went skydiving, went to the skydiving center with my boyfriend, and I had a couple of people approach me, and one girl, she actually does media stuff for a local ski center here, and we were talking, and I had somebody up in particular come up to me. I didn't even know that they follow the show, and they listen on Spotify. And they said, every time I go for a run or when I'm driving here or driving home, I listen to your podcast, and I just want to thank you because it's really helped me. And I don't think people realize how much that means to me, to be honest with you, because I know we've set it up to be monetized if it gets to that point, but I told them, I said, look, it's not about the money. I don't ever expect to be rich off this or make money. It's not what it is for me. I just want to help people. I just want to make a difference. And not just, I know we started this out with my life stories so people could get to know me. Sure. And why the whole premises of having this show. But in all honesty, I'm all about sharing other people's stories because I truly do think that some of these people have amazing stories and they just don't know it. And they don't know how much of a difference they make in people's lives. Like I told you, Danny, I've known him for a couple of years, and I didn't even know his wife has served that long. That's amazing. But I saw a story in there. So every time I see that somebody I have a lot of veterans on my page, both male and female, a lot. And I just am astounded at the stories that they have, and they don't think they have a story. They're like, I just served our country. I did what I was called to do. Right. I'm like, but you still have a story. You went and served, you came back as a civilian, you found life, and you're still here fighting you're still fighting for our country, either way you look at it. Yep. So, right. So it's just, I don't know. I love doing it. I love finding guests, and I'm astounded every time. I'm like, how am I going to find guests for the next month and the next month? And then I get 2 months booked out. I'm like, I get a month breather, and then I'm back in the same circle. So
right. Yeah.
When we're doing this show a year from now, which we will be.
And we're getting emails too from
now we're getting emails. I'm so excited. We got an email from an admiral last week who's 80 years old, and I really want to get him on the show. So that would be awesome. I'll have to make sure we keep in contact with that one. But that being said, next week we have Kevin Key, and this guy, everyone is going to love him. He's everywhere. He's the owner, manager, CEO at Cosmic Tiki Bar in Cocoa Beach, Florida. Him and his wife are like the cutest little couple ever. Like, he's this big, like, looks like the Hulk. He's just your typical, what you would think a veteran is, like your big, buff, mean, lean machine. And his wife's just this little cute as a button, fit, blonde. And they're just fun. They're fun people. They're everywhere. I always see them. They're in Nevada, Wyoming, Florida. They're always traveling and doing things. So this guy has had injury after injury after injury. He's went against doctor's orders at times and still found joy in life. He's a progress manager, an entrepreneur, and cattle rancher. So he works at the retired military veterans as well. He's a former battalion commander of the 82nd Airborne Division. He worked at the 7th Special Forces Group out of Florida and worked at the 75th Ranger Regiment.
Ooh, that's rough.
Yeah.
Rangers and Airborne, that's a lot of back and knee injuries.
Yeah, he's a retired Ranger Green Beret.
Wow.
And I've seen him on a couple other podcasts. I've seen him doing interviews, and he's just full of spunk in life. If you miss it, you're missing out, because not only he's entertaining, he's funny, he's humble and down to earth. He has no shame in his game. He will tell you how it is. And I can't wait to have him on. I'm stoked, actually. Awesome. He's gonna be amazing. And the cattle ranching's out in Nevada. So it's funny. He's posted pictures before, and I'm like, that place, when you think of Nevada, you think it's all desert and everything looks the same, right, which is accurate. True. But there are certain places that you can tell, you're like, that looks like it's near Fallon or near Winnemucca, and he'll post pictures, and I'm like, I knew it. I knew that's where he was at. But yeah, he's really cool. And so, we have him, and we have, I guess I can let the cat out of the bag. So we have a little break from veterans. We're going to have the owner of Skydive Skydown on the beginning of January. And then after that, we're going to have Brian Marshall from the Wild Chaos podcast out of Boise, Idaho on the show. And he is a Marine veteran himself. And then after that, I don't know, a couple weeks after that, we're going to have Strikes Against Suicide on. And that is part of a veteran community that was started by bowlers.
Cool.
So I'm super excited. Yeah. So we have a lot of amazing guests coming up, and I'm so excited. And like I say every time, if you know somebody who has a story, if you yourself have a story, please reach out to me, because I would definitely like to put you on the books. Or even just if you don't think you have a story, reach out to me and I'll let you know if it's worthy of being on the podcast. But like I said, I think pretty much everybody's worthy of being on the podcast. And I had somebody ironically last week tell me that I was scared to reach out to one person in particular. And they said, what's the hurt in reaching out? The worst that's going to happen is you're going to get rejected.
Yep.
But if somebody rejects you and they tell you they can't be on your podcast or they don't want to be because you don't have a big enough following, then that says enough about their character that you don't need them on your show in the first place, because nobody's too good to be on somebody else's show when they have sometimes have a show themselves. So they know how it goes. Yes. So anyways, but yes, so we are at, when I look today, we're at 191 subscribers on YouTube. I'd like to get to 200, please. Pretty please.
I'll push it out to all our,
like we have 300 and, oh my gosh, I can't even remember, 383 private Facebook group members. So if every person in that Facebook group would subscribe, it'd be great.
That's true.
We would far exceed the goal. But I mean, I know, I think I brought this up before. I had somebody else bring this up to me. I think Mike Seabrook did one time. And he said, how do you have 180 this was back when we had 180 subscribers and you only get like 5 to 15 active listeners at a time. And I said, I don't know. It's the algorithm, bad time. Like I've said before, like same awful place, same great time.
But we get the post watches too. So, I mean, we do get a lot of views after the fact, which is
good. We do get a lot of views after the fact, and we do get a lot of audio podcast listeners as well. Yeah. So yeah, with that being said, we, like Rob said, if you want to reach out to us, you can DM me privately or Rob, or you can email us at resetandrisepodcast@gmail.com. We're on TikTok if you want to give us a follow and a like there. Instagram, we're on there as well. Yep. I try to collaborate with the Reset and Rise page in conjunction with my own at times. And then we are also on Facebook, the private Facebook group page, and you can find me and Rob on Facebook ourselves as well. So with that being said, if anybody has a story, just reach out. I would love to hear from you guys as well. And not just, it doesn't really matter what, I mean, I want to have, I'd like to get some more people on here that have struggled with addiction. That's my next go-to movement, is getting people on here that have fought with addiction, because a lot of people I found, they like to listen to people that are relatable. And that seems to be where we're at with the show. Right. Is relatability is a huge thing for people nowadays, especially with the way a lot of people are struggling in life, whether it be mentally, physically, or financially. They want something that's relatable. So
thank you, Danny. We appreciate
Thank you, Danny. We appreciate being on the show. But that being said, I hope you all have a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever the way you celebrate. I hope you enjoy the holidays and stay safe and learn to appreciate the people around you, and travel safe if you're traveling as well. So thanks, Rob.
No problem. Thank you, everybody. Like Amanda said, we do appreciate everybody here that either listens on the audio version, which is on all podcast platforms. If you just happen to catch this in the algorithm, just subscribe to our channel. As Amanda said, we're 9 away from 200. So that would be a great Christmas gift to Amanda. She would appreciate that. Costs you nothing, and it helps us greatly. So Merry Christmas as well to everybody. Happy Christmas, Mahana Kwanzaa. I don't know if you remember that old commercial that always got me.
I do. Yes.
But and we'll see you next week. Take care, guys.